Hey everybody, it's Mike Sherwood and welcome to my YouTube channel, Don't Waste Your Life, where we remind you to be present, to be happy, and to be thankful. If you're new to the channel, I ask you to subscribe below. If you're returning, thanks for coming back. So in continuing on with our real estate series, this video I'm going to go through my top tips on how to get started now. So a lot of people have said to me, hey, I want to get started now. What do I do? What would you recommend for somebody like me that's just starting out and I want to get going now? So first things first, my strategy is assuming that you're going to be doing buy and hold. If you're doing another strategy, some of these tips may be useful to you, but they're not going to necessarily translate directly to your particular strategy. Again, buy and hold has been my strategy. You may be doing something different. You can use this as a guide. So before you do anything, I recommend that you consult an attorney on the legal formation you're planning to do. Whether you're doing an LLC, partnership, or some other entity, I recommend consulting an attorney and also talking to your bank whether they will accept that entity in order to put the property in. Because in some cases, some banks will not allow you to do certain types of entities, legal entities, as it pertains to putting the title in for that particular type of property. So something is very important that you need to investigate, talk to an attorney, talk to a banker, as you're considering setting up a real estate company. Number two is to talk to somebody who's executing a similar strategy as you are, or that's in the same market or a similar market. So as you're trying to figure this out and learn this, it's very important to understand what other people that are actually doing this are actually doing, or what they have done in the past. So for example, if you've interviewed me, I can tell you what I've done in the past. I'm not buying as much property as I once was. So the market conditions are way different than what they are now compared to what they were. So some of the advice I may have may not be as helpful. But then in some cases, some of it is very timeless, many of it's just like dotting your I's and crossing your T's. It's very important. So as long as you're doing those, it's very helpful. So again, try to find somebody who's doing that. Take them out to coffee, buy them lunch, find a way to get in their head, try to understand what they're doing, and see what you can learn from them. And again, try to add value for them as well. Don't just think about what they can do for you. Number three is to get proof of funds from your bank up front. So if you have a certain amount of money for a down payment, make sure you have proof of funds already set up. So when somebody asks and you're putting in an offer for a particular piece of real estate, you have that proof of funds already set up. Another tip related to this is make sure you have a real estate agent set up to help you with all this stuff. Getting a good real estate agent is paramount in finding and getting good deals. It's very important to be able to have a good relationship with real estate agents in the area that you're investing. Another tip is to get pre-qualified or pre-approved. I would talk to your bank on what they recommend, but this is just you getting your funding in line so that way somebody knows that you're actually serious about buying. This is very important because depending on the market, things move very quickly. So for example, the market we're in right now, many people aren't even going and getting funding. They're actually just paying cash for some of these properties and then refinancing later. That just makes it easier for the person that's selling the property because they don't need to qualify for a loan. Or if they're deciding to not have any contingencies, like they're trying to sell their previous home, or they want an inspection contingency. I don't necessarily recommend you waive those, but just understand that when you have all this stuff set up ahead of time, it can just make things much faster and much easier. Number five is to start looking at properties, even ones that you're not actually interested in investing. Sometimes by you just observing and seeing other properties that may not be something that you're interested in investing in, may give you an idea of other markets that may be possible or other investments that may be possible. Or you may be able to help other investors that are looking for those particular types of properties. I always used to look at every opportunity to go do a showing or see something as a way to learn. And I would take away and I would write notes after each time I went to go see a property. I would write down what I learned, what I've observed. After you've been doing this for a while, like you can look at a property or just look at a MLS listing and you have an idea what you think you're going to see. But this only comes from repetition and experience in seeing the properties. Number 6 is to create a model that can track how you're going to look at your investment criteria. It's very important to have a model that lays out very cleanly how your investment's going to work. So how much you're going to put down, how much you're going to get from the bank, what's the interest rate, how much your expenses are going to be per month, how much is the rent. And you need to have your key KPIs and your targets, your KPI targets for what your returns are going to be, what is going to make sense to you. That's something only you can come up with. And even for some of these properties that you went to go look at that you were not actually interested in, I recommend also modeling these just so that way you know what the numbers could look like. And again, you're going to have to estimate some of this stuff, but the idea is by you doing this, you really understand and be able to do these models very quickly. So having a model in Excel, and if you don't have one, you can get it from somebody else. One very important thing to do is to create your investment criteria. And once you have that investment criteria, keep it until you've seen a number of properties where it actually won't work. And once you realize that it doesn't work, then you can just adjust it accordingly and go from there. So it's important to have that because you will have an emotional reaction and you will just decide to change it. And that's something you need to be very disciplined about and unemotional about. So the final tip I have is just a way to kind of organize things, which is to build a checklist to be able to track all the different things that you're trying to do. And when you're doing this actually makes it very easy for when you're working with different people. You can pick up right where you left off with them. You understand exactly how things are going to work, how things are going to move forward. And then you can almost reuse this checklist every time you're going to go do a deal because you just walk through it. And so it just makes it very easy to have. And once you have that and you've done that a couple times, it's nice. So an extra bonus tip that I have that I found that's been very useful is when you're going to submit an offer to buy a property or to work with a bank, I recommend you actually create a nice, clean, simple PowerPoint that you can just drop in some of the pictures and some of the items from a model to be able to explain to the bank why this investment makes sense. You can make this very templated, but it can look very professional. And the reason why I recommend doing this is because this helps you stand out from just other investors that are just doing this. I've even seen some really experienced investors that don't use this. They've kind of built those relationships, and that's okay. So like once they built those relationships, I guess they don't need that anymore. These are some top tips that I recommend to get started now. And the final most important tip is just to take action and start moving, because you're saying that you want to be able to get started in real estate. You got to do something, and you got to be consistent and build a habit to do this every day. And even if that's just you looking at properties online a little bit every day, it helps you understand the market. So with that, thanks again.